Live. Hey everyone, welcome to SkyPi. So I'm joined here with Amber, my sister, and I'm Pi, and this is SkyPi News. So this is our first time going live. If I have any problems or anything, I'll be able to post it later, and we can have the full thing that will work, and it just disconnected.
No. Are you sure it disconnected?
It totally disconnected. I knew. So this is our first time going live.
See, and we're back.
If I have any problems or anything, okay, there's one problem. Eventually, I will be moving in with Amber's too. She's got some rooms that have opened up, and we'll be able to take advantage of her better upload speed there.
Yeah, Billy made me upgrade to a better upload speed, so he shouldn't have issues like this.
Awesome.
I pay for it every month.
So anyway,
too.
Our first topic of the day is a storm chaser caught lightning hitting this SUV up here. So I've got the link down in the description, so you guys ought to take a look at this if you haven't seen it yet. Like, he pulls up right next to it, and it's just like, bam, 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 and it was just, and like the camera shakes and everything. What did you first think when you saw this, Amber?
I saw it pop up on my feed. I was like, I gotta get this over to Billy. It's like the lightning shoots in through the side of the car. Yeah. I think I even was like, not hitting the car from up top, Billy. It's going in from the side. How does that even happen? It looks like it comes straight out the other side of the vehicle there.
Yeah, so I posted a comment on the video saying that it looks like the lightning actually comes out of the right wheel there. You can see the yellow light particularly in the thumbnail. So it's like it like just couldn't make it through the rubber tire and just shot out on the right side where it went down into the asphalt then.
So this was apparently a storm chaser, right? Following the car that was hit.
Yes, this
by
was
lightning.
Storm chaser Carl Hobie. I believe I'm pronouncing that right. That caught it. So he caught it, doesn't give any information about where he was, just that he was near Waverly, Kansas, which is like east central Kansas.
Apparently Nathan and Sarah were the ones driving the vehicle in front, and what really stood out to me is that the lightning hits, and then it's like all the electronics fry inside the car.
Do they?
The lights
I
go
was
out.
wondering.
Yeah. Yeah, so one of the articles I pulled up here, they said that the
Which
car
one is
just,
it? I've got Lad Bible on my screen.
Yep, it's the Lad Bible article. So they said it killed the engine and stopped the vehicle dead in its tracks.
Oh, man.
You might need a tow truck at that point.
Yeah, I would imagine.
He said it took a couple minutes to realize what it was, but he said surprisingly, I was like, oh, we must have got struck by lightning. I'm not sure. Loud. They said it was 4 loud pops, a bright white light. Like, I guess I would assume it was lightning. They said they were also detouring around some construction, so they were on a road that they normally would not have been on. And
interesting.
They were in the right place at the right time.
Wow.
Right place at the right time. So the wife said she felt some tingling after the lightning strike. The husband also said he didn't know if it was a weird feeling. He didn't know if it was adrenaline or just lightning. Actually, there's so much energy in the car. Who knows? They both said they were pretty shook up over it.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah, there was another video that Inside Edition that also caught of it, and so they had a very brief interview. I wanted to hear so much more from them about this, and so they talked to them, and it sounds like that the car might be done, so I'd imagine they had it towed and they're having it looked at, but you can see in the video, if you play it, that after the lightning strikes, like maybe like a half a second after it's done, the lights just go, it's like, it took a second for like the electronics to fry. Maybe one of the chips or computers was shutting down in it, so that was really great to see.
I'd say it's totaled for sure. I had friends who had lightning strike their house here in Colorado Springs, and it started an attic fire, but it also just fried every wire possible in the upstairs. So some appliances still worked in the basement, and this friend of mine was renting space in the basement. So she could still use her fridge and her microwave, but most of the rest of the electrical in the house was just Right. It took 6 months before they could move back in. So I can't imagine what it would do to everything in a car, especially with these electric cars these days.
Like, oh yeah, they're probably even more susceptible to do it.
But really, you need to.
Yeah.
So, Pi, you really need to get your Prius struck by lightning so we can see what it does to a Prius.
Oh my goodness. That's gonna be crazy. Like, I hope that there's like some kind of safeguards in place to prevent like batteries from exploding as they become more and more mainstream.
Yeah. Well, we shared last week on this stream about a lightning strike hitting a little too close to my house, so. And it made me scream. I screamed like a little girl. So, that's... Nope. I don't want it any closer than that. Nope.
Yeah. That'd be nuts. Alrighty. So, how about we move on to our next topic? So, apparently some Delaware Tornadoes touchdown way over on the East Coast. So, I've got the radar pulled up over here, and... So, this
was a busy week in general.
Yeah, this was a busy week.
I kind of remember you calling me and saying, there's tornado warnings for D.C.
Yeah, so over in the D.C. metro over here, there's so many small towns around here that it's a little bit tricky to see. But yeah, here's the first tornado warnings that occur early on farther west as it gets closer and closer. It doesn't look like that one stayed there for a while. And here's DC back over there. Okay. Yeah, and so I just pulled up the video in our first episode where I showed my funnel cloud on Pikes Peak and how Tornado Alley from the Weather Channel picked it up, and they were like, it could happen tomorrow. An EF5 could struck DC. And the hill might even strengthen the tornado, Capitol Hill. So...
Yes, tornadoes can go up and down hills and up and down mountains. That's why they went. Then they go to Billy's Pikes Peak video. It was, yeah.
Yeah. So as they start crossing, I believe, the bay over here and over into Delaware, that's when it went tornado warned again and started dropping some twisters. I guess it was this one after all. And
I do have the damage survey up here. It looks like it happened on July 1st. They had, you can see the line of severe thunderstorms there, but thankfully it dropped 2 tornadoes. They were just EF1 rated tornadoes, so about 90 mile an hour. But they say like trees fell over. One person's porch was ripped off and their insulation was blown into the neighbor's tree. Yeah, so... For the record, I don't ever want my house to be on a damage survey. I don't want to hear about my insulation being in somebody else's tree.
There it is. Look at this here.
I see that and I think dollars.
It was so close to the Doppler radar that you can see a swirl in the reflectivity.
Nice embedded circulation.
Oh yeah, definitely rain wrapped.
You couldn't see that one coming. Ooh, there's the velocity. So the first one lasted, they said it was only 50 yards wide.
Okay, so relatively small. Yeah, let me pull up the exact locations here of where it touched down. This is from DelawareOnline.com.
It went about 4.77 miles long, the first one. So, and then 5 minutes later, it put down a second tornado.
Yeah, right there. They're calling it EF2, but the damage survey just says EF1s. So here as well.
Yeah, so I think it was the second tornado that ripped off the front porch. And, yeah, so thankfully this one missed DC. It didn't do any damage to the hill, the Capitol Hill.
Right. Yeah. So this was a lot further east when it was. I messed that up doing this.
Was this the dying tropical storm that causes tornado?
No, not a tropical storm. It was just a normal, I believe, a low pressure system that was out east. And so this was actually captured by a local there. So, and I'm going to butcher his last name, but Michael Ario. And so he has the Instagram Empire State Kennels here. And so you were sending me this video. Describe what he was saying in this to me, Amber, when you first watched it.
Yeah, so is this the video of the tornado? He's like, I was just laughing. I actually was just listening to you play the audio, and it was like, and I guess I could call myself. It's like, what are those people called? The Czech Tornadoes?
Storm tracker?
Storm chasers? Storm trackers? I guess I'm like one of them. Hey, yeah, he's like, part of me was like, dude, why are you even filming it? Like,
yeah, like
really
this is like a rain ray. He did not know what he was doing. So eventually he gets closer and then just sees it just ripping up the storms and whatnot. So it was pretty nasty there, and he was lucky that it kind of opened up and he was able to see through the curtains of rain of this thing, because that's kind of a nasty storm.
He's close to that thing. Sheesh.
Mm-hmm. He got really close.
He has a great accent too. You should watch the video. Yeah. I was just cracking up over his
it's hilarious.
Commentary.
Yep. So that was. Yep. What's that?
Then it just goes out to the ocean, right? And it.
Yep, and it just does its own thing out there, and so just a couple of warnings as it goes on, and then it just moves its way off east. So yeah, I'm pretty surprised that it seems like that a lot of the Northeast has been getting tornadoes lately, so that's interesting after it's like moved from the plains. Maybe it's just that, just the general thunderstorms. Oh, there was also some tornado warnings way up here, up north. I didn't notice that. So
we should make our own. It could happen tomorrow.
It could happen tomorrow. Yep. All right. So Tropical Storm Elsa is coming towards the U.S. over here. Do you have an article pulled up for that one, Amber?
Yeah, my dogs were afraid of the fireworks last night, so I had them watch the Weather Channel talking about Tropical Storm Elsa coming in all night and blasted it throughout the house.
To make it a little bit easier for them to see it.
Put a fan on them, put them in their kennels so they couldn't hear the booms outside. So, so Elsa was actually a hurricane for a brief moment when it hit Barbados.
Yeah, way down there. Keep going.
There's even one death reported in Soufriere. I'm going to butcher the name. St. Lucia. Hey, I want to go to these islands without hurricanes or tropical.
Which article are you reading there?
This is from AccuWeather.
So here it is. Yeah, so there was some significant damage some people caught there on video.
Yeah, they're saying their highest gust in Barbados was 86 miles per hour.
Yeah, that's definitely enough to do damage.
We can have blizzards in Colorado that are stronger winds than that. But, they don't have houses built for blizzards in Barbados, so right. I guess I'll give them that. So, sounds like a 15-year-old, unfortunately, and a 75-year-old were killed from a wall collapsing. It's in Barbados.
Wow. Barbados is that tiny island way out there. Pretty isolated.
Yeah, let's go. Please, can we go do a vacation?
Let's go.
Not when Elsa's there. But it's crossing Cuba, I think, as we speak, and it's gonna head right up into the Gulf of Mexico. Oh, you have Go 16.
Go 16. Yep. Yeah, so this has actually caused quite a bit of concerns for that awful condo collapse that happened down there in Miami.
Right. Yeah.
So
it's been so sad to watch that whole news article.
Yeah, that whole thing. So they eventually, just last night, while everyone was selling off, blowing up fireworks, they were demolishing the rest of the condo because they didn't want the winds to interfere with it.
Yeah, I was watching one news reporter say that the worst thing that could have happened is for the building to blow over on top of the pile where they're still trying to find the 121 who are missing. So they wanted to make the building collapse in such a way that it wouldn't interfere the rescue.
Yeah, well, it looks like they did a great job because in this little preview here, the collapse was here on the left side, and they were able to collapse it, and it just like leans away from the collapse side so that they can continue the search, rescue, and recovery down there. And
sounded like they had several complexes around that said you have to stay indoors. They didn't evacuate any place, but they said, please don't leave your buildings while we take this, the rest of this other building down. But do you know, I didn't read this anywhere, but I wondered if, I assume nobody was able to go back into the remaining building and get any of their belongings.
Oh, definitely not. Let's see. And from
watch.
the articles and stuff that I was reading, they got the pets out. So, but that was about it. I would imagine that people would have been able to grab one or two things when they were originally trying to get out of there. But I would imagine they would have wanted to get out of there fast. So when they did proceed with the demolition, that it would do that. They probably left quite a bit up in there because, man, I would want to get out there as fast as I can. That would traumatize me going through that whole thing.
I don't think I could watch. If the rest of my apartment was still in the standing part, I don't think I'd be watching that demolition. It's just so sad to see. But and they're saying that Elsa is actually not going to hit Miami, but they do think that they'll get some of the outer bands of the tropical storm coming in.
Yeah, let's just take a look at what the GFS is showing down here for it. So GFS, yeah, just showing that it's going to go to the west of it, Miami being down here. And so they'll definitely get some rain. It looks like, at least for convection, the convection outlook here, they've... it's just barely outside the slight risk area. So, still a chance for tornadoes and stuff, though. So, but I forget which article that it was, but the Miami mayor, it sounds like that it was a blessing in disguise to get this, this talk about demolishing the rest of it, because the search and rescue crews were not able to get search close to the building because, you know, they didn't... You know, they wouldn't want to move a piece of rubble that's holding up the one beam that's holding the rest thing up, and it to come and collapse down. So now they can, like, really start to search the whole area of the collapse now. So, but at least once the tropical storm does pass.
I'm thankful I'm not a mayor that has to make those kind of decisions.
Oh, yeah, that'd be rough. So.
And they've evacuated another complex further down the beach because they're showing similar wear. But we always say don't build your house on a sandy land, right? But, oh, man, it's such a beautiful place. Like, I heard one interview where a person said, I've waited all my life to move into this complex to be right on the ocean. So, gotta feel for those people, man.
Yeah, like...
It's been quite a week.
It must be rough down there with all that salty water that gets blown inland. Like, that can just corrode stuff so much more easily. So... It'll be really interesting to see how it collapsed. It looked like it started in the garage and that the whole pool deck came down first. And so that was very tragic story all around there. So, but the good news is that doesn't look like that Elsa isn't going to cause too much of a problem as they were fearing with that whole devastating situation down there.
And speaking of tropical storms, so you have a pretty cool GO-16 satellite loop of tropical storm Danny.
Yeah, so this happened just the week prior, or about a week ago is what it was. And so this is what a moisture-starved tropical storm does. This is a mesoscale floater that's purposely like taking more pictures often. It's like one picture a minute from the GO-16 satellite. And you can see it's just making this beautiful swirl out here. So we do have some convection on the west side of it as it was approaching South Carolina. And
so it's tropical. The storm is actually the clouds, right? And then the swirl out to the east of it, or
no, the swirl is actually the low pressure. Yeah, the swirl is actually the low pressure system. So, and eventually, when it moves inland, after it was able to take more advantage of the heating of the day, and we had more convection start at the beginning of it. But man, so that's what it looks like when there's just not very much moisture in the air. And so the whole thing just swirls and stuff. So once we get more into hurricane season, you know, there'll be plenty of moisture to go around, even if it is just sitting right out there in the ocean. You can see that.
Could I just say GO-16 is my favorite. I'll just sit there and watch GO-16.
Oh yeah, this stuff's beautiful. And even if you look here, like if we zoom in, let me go to like 200% here. and you can like see another little swirl just go right under the anvil of the storm and tuck in. So Reed Timmer says that probably would have made like a supercell if that was over land, because it had some nice rotation towards it. So very beautiful storm out there. So if only all tropical storms could do that.
Yeah, we could say it's beautiful in Colorado because we don't have to deal with it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it didn't even like do much. Like the remnants was like over like by June 29th, and it just created some rainfall here and there. So nothing too bad to squat.
We experienced our first tropical storm last year. We were down in Mississippi.
Oh yeah.
And we had Cristobal go right over us, and
that was Cristobal.
I remember Billy being like, he was like, "This is it."
This is
we didn't even hear any thunder. Just rain,
okay,
right?
I got all excited that the Storm Prediction Center issued like a 5%. For it, and I didn't really realize it at the time, but they just generically issue 5% for all kinds of tropical storms and hurricanes. So, and it's just, just like what we showed last week with the tropical storm that came and dropped all those tornadoes in Alabama, that they can just pop up, and I'm like, the radar just looks boring. Nothing is. So, I was hoping for a 5% chance of tornadoes and to go storm chasing last year.
You had a car too, right? So you could have.
Oh yeah, I drove all the way down there. That was a long way. I wish I was up north because that's where all the action. I believe that was when the Minnesota drill bit was happening too. Was sometime during that week as well.
I kind of remember that. Well, yeah. So we can say we've at least experienced one tropical storm of some type.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and they're just. I'm like, it's just raining. That's all I call it. So.
Just.
Yep.
Now there were some other really cool tornadoes that happen around the world too. Like we could spend most of our time.
We could have talked about this last week, but we had so much other stuff to cover that the Czech Republic got hit with a big tornado, and so it's really tough to find information from this part of the world about it. But there is this great article.
Really know? Be honest, did you really know where the Czech Republic was before this tornado?
I knew it was in Europe.
Okay, that's probably a little better than me. I would have said Russia, but
okay.
Yeah. Geography is not my strong pursuit, so I had to ask.
Yep. Anyway, go ahead and pull up this article from the Severe Weather AU, and I'll go there on Google Earth.
Oh, right. Go ahead and...
The most powerful tornado on record to hit the Czech Republic, leaving several fatalities and over 200 injured across the Hodinin district. Hodinin?
Nice try.
Yeah.
It works. Yeah, the damage pictures from this are unbelievable. Like this is like the Alabama, Georgia tornadoes earlier this year. Mm-hmm. Have they rated these yet? I don't see a damage survey.
Yeah, I don't know where to begin, where to find damage surveys and stuff from this. But this article does say that they gave it an F4, so I'm guessing they're still using the Fujita scale over there.
Yeah, several hundred buildings, uprooted trees, overturned cars. The worst hit areas were reported to be like a war zone, which...
Oh, yeah. An F4 will do that.
Yeah, well, F4, I mean, you're pretty much leveling houses down to their foundations, right? It's not quite F5 where you have only a slab left, but...
Yeah, the clarifications for classifying that is probably a little bit different.
The tornado... It says it went 15 miles long.
15 miles? I believe this is the path.
That's awesome. It went as wide as 100 to 700 meters wide along some parts of the track. Of course, that in feet is times 3. That's a decently sized tornado.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Let's see. Oh, yeah, there's the...
So a lot of people, some of this footage here, there was one guy that got that was just watching it come towards him, and it wasn't this particular video, and like stuff like roofs were just getting like lofted into the air, and meanwhile he's just filming, and it was just like, what are you doing, dude? I don't know how often tornadoes happen in this part of the world, but it's just like, eventually, like, after windows breaking and after he's like done like sticking his phone out the window to film it, and then they go downstairs. It's just like, what are you doing? But man, I wonder, because I know that Italy down here gets a lot of tornadoes, but to see to be in the Czech Republic, people just are probably just don't know what to do, and I'm sure a lot of people just get super like just awestruck over the size of this tornado. So it is.
Well,
yeah. What?
It does say here on this article that there's an average of 300 to 500 tornado reports that are collected into the European Severe Weather Database every year. This includes waterspouts on the Mediterranean Sea, north of Baltic Seas, and the Black Seas.
Right. Well, yeah, that's compared to like the thousands that we tend to get in the U.S.
I had to ask you once. I was like, is the U.S. known for its tornadoes? Because I started to see reports of people traveling to America to come see our tornadoes, and we were like, oh yeah, like we just the way that North America is laid out with our low pressure systems and high pressure systems coming onto America, that it just is ideal.
Well, yeah, the Gulf of Mexico is the big key factor. It just sends so much moisture up through it. And then, of course, we've got the drier air coming off of the Rockies. So that all helps a lot. And those kind of conditions can, you know, as we just saw, can form off the East Coast as well. And that, so you don't necessarily need those conditions to have tornadoes. It just means that they're going to happen way more often. So, yeah, this was just a nasty tornado. So there's it dropped some big hail too. Maybe not particularly that.
They're showing
it was the same storm.
Well, I guess I was about to say they showed the hail measuring 8 inches, but never mind. That's probably millimeter or centimeters.
Yes, yeah, we definitely have our freedom units over here. So
I'm an American, and I only think like Americans think. Mm-hmm. I forget about the metric system.
Yeah. Ah, sheesh. Seeing these tornadoes, that is something I want to see in my Prius. Was that debris that just flew past the camera? Yeah, that's totally debris. Just flying at this guy. Like, these people, like, I mean, don't get me wrong. Like, if I had clear view of a tornado, I'd be out on my roof filming it too. But if I could see that it was passing. But these people, they can't have any idea of what is going on here.
Why do you want to be in your Prius? To be able to see that?
Well, okay, the Prius means I'm maneuverable and I can get out of its way.
Got it. It's like only Pi would say I want to be in my Prius instead of in a house.
Like close range. Oh man, these people just filming it. Like, I mean, it's a populated area and it's a photogenic tornado, so it's gonna get a lot of video documented. Oh, the trees are just falling. Dude, get in your an interior room. That is.
See your footage. See your footage, Pi, and they want to be like Pi. So.
Yeah, I guess. So. Yeah, sure. Close the blinds. That'll help.
So Appleman3154 wants to ask you, what is the worst tornado you have ever seen?
That I have ever seen, probably that would be the Tescott wedge tornado that I saw way back in like 2018. Yeah, that was like my first serious storm chase, and so that one did some damage. That was some EF3 damage. It didn't hit a populated area though. So the one that did the worst damage was probably the Selden, Kansas tornado. That and the Bowie, Texas tornado from last year. Those two did pretty similar things to damage and whatnot.
Yeah, like so the first time that you said I want to call it Tesla.
Kansas.
Tesca. Mm-hmm. Oh, it was in Kansas. Okay.
Yep.
Sorry, people in Kansas, I butchered the name of your town. I was born and raised in Montana. I'm still learning where the other parts of the country are.
Yep.
But, whew.
Yeah,
right,
so
well,
here in Colorado, we are starting to get our monsoon season.
Hey, I'm loving it. I'm a gardener. I haven't had to turn on my sprinklers in a week. Today I finally had to turn them on because my broccoli plants were looking a little shriveled. But monsoon season, we get that Gulf moisture or that ocean moisture you're talking about. Lately, it's not been coming from the Gulf, though, right? It's been coming.
No, yeah, our monsoon
Baja.
moisture comes from the Pacific. I get them mixed up all the time. The West Coast, Pacific and Atlantic.
Okay.
Yeah, Pacific. And so that's where our moisture comes. And typically, it's so dry here in Colorado because the mountains cause so much upslope flow that it will cause a lot of the rain to fall before it gets here. But once July starts coming around, there's plenty of moisture to go along. And man, it feels humid today. And I'm in this room with my NAS going and my PC going over here. And so it's getting quite toasty down here, even though I'm in a basement.
There you go. I have a napkin fan. It's not working very well. Well, so a combination of monsoon. Another issue we have with Colorado is forest fires, and the result after a forest fire combined with monsoon usually means flash floods for our mountain areas.
There's so many. Like when we had the Waldo Canyon burn scar here in Colorado Springs, like you can see it clearly on satellite here, even though that is kind of divided up into two different images. And so here's the burn scar right there, and that created so much flash flooding over here in, was it Waldo Canyon? Or I guess this might be Waldo Canyon, along Highway 24 here. So much flash flooding happened. What was that, way back in 2013 during the flash flooding?
The fire was 2012, so yeah, 2013 is when the major flash floods were happening. I actually have friends who live up in Woodland Park, which they have to drive that pass every day. It's like a 45-minute commute, and they had to start bringing an overnight bag with them every time they came to work because if there was a half inch of rain that fell in that burn scar, they would close the pass. And that's because they had multiple cars get washed off in some of the mudslides in 2013. Now, they've done a pretty good job. The burn scar is still there, the dead trees are still there, but they did like a bunch of helicopter drops that put a seed down on some of those slopes to help with the erosion. Yeah, it was pretty interesting how much money they put into stopping it, but they also did some major infrastructure. I can't even say it. Infrastructure. They cemented some big ditches, and there's a little town down there in the pass called Manitou Springs, and they had to do some major reconstruction to keep from Manitou from flooding. So we should go there someday.
They even just had a rock slide there recently that caused traffic to back up like crazy.
True. I almost forgot about that. They have cool sirens that go off whenever rain pours on that pass now. So we should go there and film the sirens.
So up here over near Glenwood Springs, there was a big mudslide that went over I-70. And I'm used to I-70 because I storm chase it a lot in eastern Colorado and Kansas. So it's really interesting to see that the same interstate got like some really nasty mudslides over there.
But it's the main thoroughway through the state, east to west. So if you're crossing the mountains, that's the way to do it. The only other option, well, there's a couple options, but the next main option is going way up into Wyoming, drive around the mountain range.
Right.
So there was a fire there last year that was pretty close to Glenwood Springs. And do you have the name of the fire, Billy? I don't have it up.
It was like the Grizzly fire, Grizzly Creek fire. Yeah.
Yeah. So people were just coming back from vacation. One particular lady was coming from Utah, and she's driving through what they call the Glenwood Canyon. Mm-hmm. And she has quite the story. She posted her entire story on Facebook, and of course the news and all picked it up. But She calls it a really scary experience. Scary experience. Last Sunday, so a week ago, the 27th?
Yes.
Yeah, because 4th of July was yesterday, Monday. I'm all confused in my week. It's a holiday. But she said it was around 4:30 in the afternoon. She was driving eastbound, just came through Glenwood Springs, was heading up the pass. And she's like, I got this weird cold sensation, she said, on my left arm. My senses were heightened.
Really?
She said, I had a strong feeling that something was wrong. In a split second later, my car was hit by a mudslide. The windows on the driver's side went completely black with mud. She said I was in the left lane. It forced her car over into the right lane towards the guardrail. She said I immediately could tell it was a mudslide. I slammed on the gas. She's like, I felt like I needed to get out of there as quickly as possible. She went over two boulders. She fishtailed through the mud.
Oh, man.
She hit the guardrail at one point, and she said she could still see the mudslide coming down the mountain behind her. She panicked and tried to race out of there. And she all of a sudden found herself in one of the tunnels that, I mean, this is a cool highway. They actually went right through the mountains and made a couple tunnels. She calls it the Eisenhower Tunnel, Billy, but you said it wasn't the Eisenhower?
No, yeah, the Eisenhower Tunnel is way farther east. I think she's talking about this one here. So was she may have been going westbound then, if it happened after the slide. But there could also be more tunnels. I know there's a couple of them.
She said she was coming from Utah, so she was doing eastbound. But yeah, look at that. That's really cool that you could pull up some of those places. So she said she was the only car to make it out. Like, she was the only one in the tunnel, and everybody else got stuck in the mud behind her. So no thank you. Nope, that would freak me out.
Yeah.
She pulled over to the closest town and inspected her car, and it sounded kind of like Pi's Prius after he gets stuck in the mud. There was mud all
I don't know what you're
underneath.
talking about. I don't get mud on my Prius. No.
Something about a recent storm chase that I joined you on in Kansas, getting stuck in the mud. I almost had to stop by Walmart
That didn't happen.
and buy a tow rope. You said, don't buy a tow rope. Someone's pulling me out of the mud. So
Yeah, so I've got the radar pulled up from that event on I70, and so you can see here that it just starts raining and they issue a flash flood warning. What time did she say that it occurred?
She was saying 4:30 p.m. I've seen other articles that said it was about 3:30 that the National Weather Service
3:30 is too early. This flood warning occurred at 4:35 Mountain Time.
4:35, and then how long after they issued the warning did the slide happen?
Oh, well, that would have been like 5 minutes if it was at 4:30. So they mentioned the burn scar, so we can check out the topography of that burn scar here. And I just realized, oh, hey, that looks just like the warning that they issued on the radar. So they're just like, oh, it's a burn scar, flood warning. Flood warning. They just outlined it as. But man, it was certainly appropriate that they did it because that. Let's see, where did it occur? Right here. So there's Glenwood. So right at that little U is where, right here is where the mudslide happened. Yeah, so how long did it take for them to get the interstate clear?
It was a couple different mudslides. I think they cleared it the first day. I didn't read exactly how long it took the first one, but this particular one, they said it took 16 hours. They said some spots had 9 feet of mud and debris. That's higher than the ceiling of my house. 9 feet?
Yeah, that's a lot of mud, man.
Do you want to go take a road trip, Pi, and go up 70 and see if we can...
And see if we can see it. I'm sure there's still some evidence of it on there.
This place is also really prone to avalanches, so anytime we could drive up there to go skiing, we're always watching right and left. Because we don't have it ready today, but there's been some footage of people getting avalanches covering I-72. It's quite the road, and it's mostly semis going east to west, up and down this pass. So I didn't hear of any semis getting caught. in this mudslide, which is good.
Yeah. And so it's not us that's been having mudslide trouble, but also in Zion National Park, they were having some problems over there as well. So the local news station out there covered this. This is near Springdale, Utah, that looks like it's normally really dry out there. Do you have that article pulled up, Amber?
Yeah. So this was at Arches, I believe?
No,
this is
Zion National Park.
Zion, sorry.
Arches is way up there in the north.
Just now getting the article up. So this is not how I want my camping trips to go, but it's a problem with being in the desert. So, it's a small town just outside of Zion National Park.
Looks super dry, like even drier than Colorado.
Red mud. Like I think about those poor campers. So I've thought about getting a camper sometime because I train my dogs and I'd like to go do dog shows. But we're talking $10,000, $30,000, $50,000, $100,000 trailers just taken apart by boulders on a mudslide like this. Like, no, thank you. So, I'm trying to find where in the article. I'm scrolling.
Yeah, so it's normally pretty peaceful in Springdale. That's part of the draw to this small town outside Zion National Park. Though they now have bulldozers and stuff cleaning it all up. And it just looks so dry. Like, how could there be, like, mud and stuff? All that red mud. Man, I got a lot of red mud on my Prius, too, this year. Red dust. Dust, not mud. My Prius doesn't get muddy.
Sounds like they were still digging out 24 hours later. A lot of damage to roads and parking lots. One person said, to be honest, we're still assessing the damage.
Yeah, so this article was probably on July 1st. So
right after the mudslide. Yeah, it's one way to start out your holiday weekend. You'll have stories to tell for a while. Just having. Do you have footage of the actual flood, or is it just all?
No, I wasn't able to find any footage. I did, though, pull up the radar from that day. So this was pretty close to this the KICX radar there in southwest Utah. So looks like lots of rain coming through, and then there's the first flood watch or flood warning. They issued a couple of flood warnings over here, and although I guess this was the southern office, hence the different warning borders. But yeah, so it rained quite a bit. So out there, let's take a look at what these warnings say here. And let's see. Doppler radar indicated thunderstorms producing heavy rain for eastern Zion National Park, specifically for Echo Keyhole and Pinehole Key between 0.25 and so 1/4 to 3/4 of an inch of rain have fallen. Flash flooding is ongoing or to be expected. So they had, turn around, don't drown. Yes, of course. Although I have had my share of driving through floodwaters that I probably shouldn't have, especially in a low clearance Prius. So, and
yeah. So pay attention to flood warnings when you go camping. Like Billy and I were gonna do a backpacking trip once but they called for like 4 days of flash flood rain. So we changed our plans and went to the Grand Tetons instead.
Oh, really? So, I didn't realize that was our backup plan.
I don't mess with flash floods, especially here in Colorado, we get on average only 14 inches of rain a year. I'm sure Zion is like 10 inches of rain a year. Of course, someone could Google that.
We ought to go here. This looks like a really pretty national park. That's really cool.
There's Utah's cool.
Yeah, we still need to go to Arches, too.
I want to go to Bryce. I haven't been to the Grand Canyon since I was like 9 years old. But have you ever been to the Grand Canyon?
Nope. Have not. We gotta go there in the winter time when it's nice and cool.
A geologist's father. And
millions of dollars in damage. So Springdale mayor has declared a city emergency. Hundreds of boulders. I don't know where they came from. It sounds like the wash, but where? The entrance to the nearby Zion National Park had to be cleared from some of those boulders. Crews were still digging out them a full day later. So the visitor center was closed. A lot of damage to roads.
Zion gets 16 inches of rain a year. So they actually get slightly more than us here in Colorado Springs.
Oh, fascinating. Maybe just from these like flash floods that just happen like sporadically and whatnot.
Mudslides. No, well, so since we're talking about rain, lots more rain, there was a kind of funny video that surfaced this week of a baseball game.
A baseball game,
and
yeah.
I guess it wasn't rain; it was more a wind event. So you know how they bring out those massive tarps when it rains, and it looked like they had the tarp fully laid out on the baseball diamond.
Yeah, so you guys got to check out this video here. It's down in the description. So, but just as it's going along here, they're trying to lay out tarps, and the person like gets blown across it in that circle. Oh man, I hope he didn't get injured or anything. Were you able to find out any information about that?
No, I didn't look up any articles on it. It looked like he somersaulted a couple times, and then it must have been wet, so it's like it just pushed him across the tarp. Once he was sitting on his bum, it's like just...
Paulus had just grabbed the left side of the tarp when a gust of wind propelled him to fame the hard way. In the blink of an eye, his feet were above his head, and his body was being hurled along the tarp that had accidentally turned the world's most painful slip and slide. Okay, this...
Yeah, I wonder how many feet in the air he went, because it looks like the tarp picks him up and tosses him before he slides. Like, he'd have to hit the ground at some point. Nope.
Yep, as much as later confirmed to AccuWeather that he was an unlucky team member who was sent flying but declined an interview as he hopes to move past the incident as much as it gives it all a laugh. Yep.
Oh, come on. I would totally do an interview if I went, well, okay, if I could not be crying from hitting the ground so hard, I would do an interview. Oh, boy.
Yep. Alrighty,
well,
let's see what's next.
These links, we have so many things that came up today. So, this was an interesting geology story. Some of you may have seen this. It was briefly talked about, but did you see the circular fire on the Gulf of Mexico?
Oh, that was weird. When you sent it to me, I'm like, what kind of like CG image is that? Like, what are you sending me? So
apparently, it was a natural gas line. Our geologist father, who is a oil and gas petroleum geologist, said it actually was a good thing that it was burning, because that I think helps contain the gas line. Now, I'm pulling up the article here, but it sounds like all they had to do was go and turn off the natural gas line, and the fire stopped. But it makes
thank goodness. Are they like trying to like the boats? Like, are they trying to put it out? Or I guess so. Yeah. I'm not sure what they're doing at the water here. Like, I mean, it's already on water. I mean, I guess it could technically be put out, but
yeah, they instead of, I mean, it's water burning. Like, how do you put? Yeah, maybe they just are worried the heat. Maybe they're cooling off the water around it.
Yeah, there's not a whole lot of information that AccuWeather gives here, but I wonder if a boat hit it. Well, I guess it's next to an oil rig, so something just must have sparked it from that.
Yeah, so, boy, I'm having a hard time pulling up. Oh, my article. So I'm pulling up a New York Times article.
Yeah, I just got it as well. A leak in an underwater gas pipe sparked a swirling... Yeah, so they just called it a leak in the Gulf of Mexico on Friday. Let's see, it happened at 5:15 in a.m.
5 hours to shut the line off, which was impressive. But I guess if it's not burning up anything important, I mean, maybe some fish got grilled or boiled.
I wonder what a fish would do, because that's kind of funny. How they would,
yeah,
I would imagine they would get away from it sooner rather than later. So
they're still investigating the cause of the leak. No one was injured in the process. The underwater pipeline is 150 meters from the platform, so you can kind of see the offshore oil field out there.
Gotcha. Yeah, so the executive director of Mexico Security said on Twitter, it did not cause a spill. Well, yeah, it's because it all burned up, which is actually good in terms of the environment down there.
Well, and I think it's natural gas versus petroleum too.
Oh, okay, that makes a lot of sense. Way more buoyant.
I haven't confirmed that yet.
Mm-hmm.
A little bit more. So, and yeah, it's just interesting to see. Like, I kind of want to go out there and watch the Gulf of Mexico burn in a big circle.
Yeah, that'd be crazy. So, how about we talk about the heat wave that just went over and roasted everyone in the the Northwest?
I don't know what you're talking about. We've had cool 60-degree weather in Colorado.
Oh, it has been really nice. 4th of July, it felt amazing out there. It was humid.
I guess everybody else is roasting, but y'all need to come visit Colorado at 6,000 feet because it was...
Yeah, we're just so oblivious down here in Colorado on this graphic here. And it's just so cool. Meanwhile, like, Seattle and Portland are just roasting up there.
Montana too. Our folks up in Montana had excessive heat warnings for days, and they're traveling. So it's our mom was saying the garden is so hot and dry.
Mm-hmm.
But there were some great memes that came out, which again I was like, I can't relate. We're so cool in Colorado. One was, it's so hot today, I saw a bird blow on its worm before it ate it.
Yeah,
Another one said,
those words would be burnt to a crisp on those sidewalks.
Smoking worm. The National Weather Service just posted instructions on how to bake your lasagna in your mailbox.
Oh my goodness. Oh goodness, do you have any of those links?
Would you try it? Yeah, I sent them to you via Messenger, so you should be able to pull them up.
All right, yeah. If you can pull up the what climate.gov has posted about it, I'll see if I can find some of those.
Okay, climate.gov. The heat wave. Yeah, so I was seeing like buckling roads up in Washington State and Oregon.
Wow, really?
The heat.
I mean, well, it got up to like 112 in some places, right?
116, I think I saw.
Mm-hmm.
Like, this is the Northwest. Now, I remember a time when our parents were driving me to college. We're talking Montana to Minnesota, and it was 105 across the Dakotas, and our air conditioning went out. Now, Mom said we need to travel like this more often because everybody was so miserable. We had the windows down, the hot 105-degree heat was blowing on our faces. We were so miserable, nobody said a word.
I'm so glad I don't remember that because I did not want to.
We would stop like every hour to get ice cream. At least we got ice cream that way. And then we finally got to a hotel with air conditioning, and there's 5 kids in our family. All of us collapsed on the beds in the air conditioning. We were so hot. So, yeah, I can't comprehend 116. Though maybe it's like 30 below here in Colorado. When it gets so cold, it just feels cold. So some of you who live in these hot areas, does it just feel hot after a while? You just don't go outside?
Yeah.
All right, I finally have the article.
I mean, I didn't enjoy going outside. We had an article, or didn't we get up to 100 a few weeks ago?
Yeah, we can hit 100, but it's like 100, 101.
Mm-hmm.
We don't above and beyond that very often, so.
Yeah, Lauren Holmes says she lives in Washington and she got roasted. Oh, I do not envy you. It was really nice down here in Colorado. And Katie Maloney, Canada had 3 to 4 all-time heat records obliterated in as many days. Yeah, these were like all-time records. Yeah. Lauren also says Cedar Crest High School got a sidewalk near it buckled. Ugh, man.
Yeah. It's like you can't, I would love to get video of that, but how do you possibly get video of that? Right, security cameras. I says to put security cameras and everything, so you can always have footage of it. So this says Portland, Oregon's average high temperature over this period the average temperature was 112 degrees Fahrenheit.
You got the climate.gov or article open there? All right. Pull it back
All
up.
3 days it was 108 on the 26th, 112 on the 27th, 116th on the 28th of June.
There it is.
I don't envy all of you. Do people in Oregon and Washington even have air conditioning? I mean, I know in Montana, some people do, but it's like you have a week of heat.
Oh yeah, even in Canada, yeah, I would imagine that's someplace because one of the YouTubers I follow, Linus Tech Tips, said that he didn't have AC in his house for the longest time because it would only get really hot like just a couple of days a year, and he finally uploaded a video of him like installing these big like AC units in his ceiling that that way he could at least cool a few of the rooms on his top floor.
Yeah, so this. Of course, everybody asks why was it so hot. So they're saying most direct cause of the blistering heat was a high pressure system, stronger than ever observed in that region, that sat over the region for several days, unwilling to move, like a stubborn dog on a walk. The cloudless skies and sinking air associated with the high pressure helped record temperatures build. So, and if you ever want to check out Ghost 16, it's sometimes fun to, if you have like some kind of extreme weather event like that, to just go on there and you can actually start to see where the high pressure is sitting.
Yeah, like that's really great. I wasn't unfortunately able to get a loop from it, but we can definitely see what it's looking like from today. Anyway, so yeah, so it was a high pressure system. Does it say anything else there?
No, I just refreshed my page and I was like, oh, there it is again. I found it. So they show some red bars. I don't know if you have that graph up there, Pi, but
yeah, I'll pull it back up in a
print of its previous under. The dangers of the heat. They're talking about. Right. So, I mean, some of the places where elderly are in housing, they sometimes can't get air conditioning.
Yeah, they attributed like over 200 deaths to this heat. Now, I don't know. It would be interesting to see those statistics and like exactly what influences the heat had. Like, I would be curious to see like what the people actually died of, because usually when they say that it is just heat contributed, it was just a contributing factor to a problem that was already there.
Yeah, so this actually reminds me of a bit of history. Back in 1995, there was a Chicago heat wave where they said it led to 739 related deaths in Chicago over 5 days. And it was kind of the same scenario where you had these high rises of low-income people without air conditioning, and they just didn't leave their rooms, and heat stroke became an issue for a lot of those people. So it's interesting when these weather patterns surface over several different years. But and in Chicago, you have the humidity to go along with it. So there's some interesting documentaries about the Chicago heat wave. I didn't remember what year it was, but a quick search says it was 1995. Go 16. So what day are you showing us on?
This is just the most recent ones here, so you can really see how there's lots of swirls from low and high pressure. So high pressure will spin clockwise, and then low pressure will spin counterclockwise. And so typically low pressures are really good for storm chasing, because as they spin counterclockwise, they will generally agitate the moisture and get it to convect as it like sweeps up under the southwest part of it, and that also causes a bunch of air to like bunch as the air gets tucked under. I'll have to find some graphs to show you guys, but it typically, so low pressures are great for storms, but high pressures I guess are apparently great for heat. That's something that that I learned throughout this whole crazy situation for them up there.
Yeah, like just recently on Go 16, I've noticed the counterclockwise and then the clockwise. I think I even messaged you because there was a big high pressure over Canada. It's like, high pressure goes clockwise? Yeah, the cool thing about Go 16 and Go 17, there's several different satellites, is you can go way out of the Pacific and see the multiple low pressures, especially during the winter, coming onto shore. And that's kind of how they can predict up to a week ahead of time as they start to see these swirls moving towards us.
Yeah, so that's great.
Yeah. I wish I could have this as my live screensaver on my live desktop at all times.
That'd be so cool, just being able to see the latest imageries from ghosts the whole time. So That'd be great. All right.
Bring it real home, like here in Colorado Springs. We could end on this funny note.
Oh no, we got some other stuff I gotta share first, but in terms of news, go ahead.
I mean, you'll have to pull up the video for me.
Yeah, I got it.
Monsoon rain. We always know it's monsoon season in Colorado Springs.
Yeah.
And people's garbage cans
just start going down.
Yeah.
This is what happened in Bowie, Texas, when that tornado went through. All this flooding started happening as well.
Even the Weather Service said, "Yep, you know, it's Colorado." Do you have the name of the person who put that video up?
The name of the person, yeah, Christopher Gorman. He was the one that caught that and sent it to KRDO's news here in town.
Awesome. All right. I apologize for interrupting. What's the last?
Yeah, so I wanted to feature a couple of cool videos that some chasers were able to produce. So this one is by, I believe his name is Science Out There. So he put together a great video about the tornado making machine that was back in April. And he told this great story about how he was using nowcasting, using weather observations. So he told a great story of that whole chase. So I've got that one linked in the description. So make sure to watch that. Actually, I should be able to just post it in the chat here. And so,
that's a great idea.
Yeah. And then also the guy that helped me find the drone, Chris Risky, over at his YouTube channel, High Risk Chris, also told a great story about the EF2 tornado that he caught over in on the Ohio-Indiana border down there. And so, man, I could have been out there if I had driven. Like, there was a 5% just the day before out, I believe, Iowa, Wisconsin, and Indiana. And it wasn't looking that great, so I didn't go. But, man, I would have made it all the way. And especially since our brother Peter lives out there near Columbus, Ohio, I could have stayed with him during that time. So, but he got pretty close to this tornado here. So I would definitely recommend that video. That one's also great to check out. So I'll post that in the stream as well. So, and actually, how about we show one last thing as we wrap up the show. This isn't weather related, but we're big fans of the weather here, so there is we have dash cams on our vehicles to collect everything. So Amber actually caught an accident. It was just a fender bender, but she caught an accident on her dash cam here, and looks like I'm gonna have to import it. But go ahead and start talking about it. Oh, hey, let's just get rid of that.
I was running late to lunch with a friend. I was part of a film shoot prior to this, and the film shoot went a half an hour long. So I was calling her saying, "I'm sorry, I'm running late." And I brought up Google Maps for some reason. She told me to go to a certain restaurant, and my brain corrected and told me which restaurant to go to. She's texting me, my friend Carol texted me and said, "I told you the wrong restaurant. I told you the other side of town." And I said, "Don't worry, I'm actually headed in the right direction." So Google Maps was telling me to take all these right turns. And for some reason, I was like, I know how to get to the restaurant now. So I'm doing my own thing, ignoring Google Maps. And as a result, I witnessed this little fender bender. So the Subaru in front of us, we figured it was a Subaru Outback.
Let me go ahead and describe it since I won't have a delay on my end. But yeah, so they're going on, just taking a right on left, and her mic was muted, but then all of a sudden, honk, donk, and it this Subaru hits this car. And you said it was the back end of the car, Amber?
Yeah, so you can... In the video, you can actually see right above that rear tire that there's a dent afterwards.
Right there.
And pretty good scrapes all the way across the back. And they were turning right on red. I think you said right on left.
Yeah. So this. Go ahead.
At first, I was like, I'm not gonna. It was not that big of a deal. I heard the horn and then I heard the thud, but honestly, I don't think I would have noticed it was an accident without the thud. and kind of debated, do I give them the footage?
Mm-hmm.
Well, the people who were hit started to pull over, and it's like, they'll figure it out. The guy who hit him did not pull over, and he kept driving, and all of a sudden, I'm like, wait a second, my first thought was, oh, maybe they were the ones who were hit, and they decided it's not worth the insurance, and they're just leaving. And then I was like, wait a second, I'm too honest, I guess. It took me a while to be like, he just did a hit and run. What do I do now?
You did fine. I mean, this is only like a matter of 20 seconds here by the time they pull.
I know, your brain's going so fast. So I debated it for a while. I'm like in the middle lane here of 3 lanes, and I was like, people eventually who were hit pulled over in a Jimmy John's there at the mall. So I finally, after debating, decided to pull over behind them and offer my dash cam footage to them. So at the time, I forgot that I was right behind the guy at fault, and I got his license plate. So when I pulled in here, I was able to talk to them. They were pretty shook up.
Right here, very clear view of the license plate. And thankfully, it wasn't a stolen license plate. You can look up very minimal information about license plates online, and so this is the correct vehicle that it was on. And so, yep, they did not get away with that. So as long as they actually go back to the house that the car is registered to, then the police should be able to ticket them, because that's a felony.
Yeah, well, and I kind of wondered if I should have called it in myself and just said I witnessed a hit and run. At the time, I don't think I had the license plate number. It took me, I went to my lunch then after getting these people information, and I sent them the video later that day so they could at least get it to their insurance company to research it.
Yeah.
But yeah, you just never know when your dash cams.
Yeah, and I've had several of my friends get in hit and run accidents. So, and one of them, he got rear-ended, and then he pulled into a parking lot, and then he just looked, and the person just drove right on by. And so it's just a dash cam can be helpful. However, you would really need one of the expensive 4K dash cams for any hope of getting license plates. Either that or one with a telephoto lens on it. I was able to get a little camera that wasn't quite made for a dash cam, but I was able to get a little cheap $20 telephoto lens for it. Now it can read license plates almost as well as my eye can. And so yeah, if you ever hear a wham and you're kind of dazed, you're trying to figure out what happened, you're trying to figure out if you hit something, if someone hit you, and all you see is cars driving past you, start reading off license plates to your camera, because you don't, in that moment, you're going to be dazed. You're not going to be exactly sure if there's a car that was behind you, or if there's cars that are trying to pull around you because you're in the middle of the road and you're stopped. And so you just got to be super quick to get those license plate numbers. So for me personally...
Except for me, Pi always scolds me for this, but somehow I always manage to mute my dash cam and I get no sound.
I've turned that off. I know I've turned off the mute button once. It's because yours is a touch screen, and so it's super easy to hit the button without it not being... It's built into her mirror.
I'm so glad to admit that you all can't hear my screams, because I don't think I'm a screamer, but apparently when lightning strikes near my house, I scream. So, yeah, assuming I talk more during these instances than I think I do, I kind of like the mute button for that reason.
Yeah, well, I mean, you're the only one that's watching it anyway. Alright, so I hope you guys enjoyed our first episode of SkyPi that was live, and I'm relieved, which means I don't have to edit down an hour and 45-minute recording, which is what we did last week. So
edit me, I don't know why.
Oh no, we both needed editing last week. So.
Yeah. Thanks for sticking with us, everybody.
Yes,
we're brand new to this.
Yep, we're getting better, but I'm so glad we started. There's been so much stuff that I wished we could have talked about, like the Nashville tornado. We were both up for that, watching that live on radar. The bomb cyclone that hit Colorado a couple of years ago. There's been so much that I would have loved to talk about in the past, and I'm really glad that I can have a platform that I can show you all this stuff that we're learning about the world and all the craziness of nature out there.
So we'll go back and show you some of that history too, because we've had some cool footage that's shown up over the years. Just Now, we should do a camera count at some point too. Like, how many cameras do we really own?
Oh
We
goodness, I probably have between dash cams, phones. Oh man, I probably have like 15.
Yeah, I probably have at least 10 myself.
Yeah.
So, not including cell phones, but.
Yep.
Well, Pi, are you doing any chasing this week?
Yep, that's what I was just about to bring up here, and it's looking possible. So today there's like nothing, just currently a little 2% for the tropical storm down there, a little 5%. And so, who knows? Maybe on Friday, all the way up in Nebraska, and which is nice because that'll give me an opportunity to go see if I can find my drone, because it looks like they're starting to do some harvesting the crops out there in Kansas. So who knows? I might be able to go find it on the way out there. So hopefully I can find that GoPro that's strapped to it.
Your drone's apparently lost in a wheat field, which is getting taller, so you're waiting for the wheat to get harvested. I think that's so funny.
Yep, let's just hope it survives that. The harvesters, the rototillers, the giant, the tractors, things.
I envision it going crunch and there being nothing left, and the farmer's wondering why there's white plastic in with their wheat supply. But we know a little.
All right, thanks for watching, guys. We'll see if we can get to this next weekend. It really worked out that 4th of July weekend gave Amber the time off this weekend, and we'll see about. Yes, another lost drone, Eric. I know. This is my 3rd drone already. Or no, I just bought my 3rd drone. So I was able to fix the one that I tried flying in the Wyoming Tornado in 2019, but it only lasted like a year before the gimbal started going berserk. I used like spare parts from... Actually, no. Okay, this is actually my 4th drone, but my 3rd one that I've used for storm chasing, so... This is why I'm using a Phantom 3. They're so much easier to replace.
You just drove from Kansas to Missouri and bought one off Marketplace. What's the big deal? You know, they're just sold in states around the...
Oh, yeah.
around the country.
Yeah, so there's no way that I'm going to try to fly... I'm not going to fly a new $1,000 drone into a tornado. So, I mean, that worked out really great for that guy that flew the new DJI FPV drone into that volcano. But, you know... it's a little easier to fly into a volcano, except he did it by accident. Anyway, we're rambling now. Okay, thanks guys so much for watching. I'll be sure to try to schedule the live stream so that you guys can catch it live next time as well. So until then, see you guys.
Bye.